Good morning to everyone from the Netherlands and selamat siang untuk teman-teman dari Indonesia. Welcome to this winner conference sessions with the title of Scaling Up Sustainability in the Built Environment. In this session, we will focus on collaboration in digitalization for energy efficient buildings. My name is Rizal Sebastian. I'm a professor at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. I'm also the chair of the research group of Future Urban Systems. I'm not only excited for today because we are discussing about a very actual topic, but also because I'm here with a number of colleagues and experts from the Netherlands and from Indonesia. So I'd like to ask Sultan to put the slides on the screen, please. Yes, thank you very much, Sultan. And the next slide, please. I would like to give the chance for everyone to introduce himself or herself. We will start with you, Nanya.
Okay, thank you, Rizal. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
All right, thank you. I'm the director of NUFIC Southeast Asia, the Dutch non-profit organization for internationalization of education, based in Jakarta in the Dutch embassy.
Thank you, Nanya. Can we move forward with you, Bram? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody, also at home. My name is Bram Entrop. I'm a professor on sustainable transitions in the built environment at Saxion University of Applied Science in the Netherlands.
Thank you, Bram. Monica, how are you today?
Very good, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Monica Kuffer. I'm professor at the University of Twente. I'm working on sustainability of rural urban systems and very happy to be with you today.
Thank you, Monica. Pak Fauzan, happy to have you here on board.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Rizal. My name is Fauzan. I'm from Institut Teknologi Bandung, especially in the School of Architecture, Planning and Policy Development. My research interest in building information modeling and virtual reality. So thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. And selamat siang, Prof. Nur Idam. Thank you for joining
Hello,
us. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Nur Idham. I am a professor in Department of Architecture, Universitas Islam Indonesia, and my field is about building science and technology. So, thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you, Nur Idam. I don't see your camera, so probably you can check the setting. And if you can switch on your camera, that will be nice. We can see each other. Thank you. And I'm happy that we have two professionals from companies who are really working in the industry. Pak Bima, would you introduce yourself, please? Are you on the stage? Sultan, would you inform me if Pak Bima is on the stage? If not, then we will move forward with Pak Barito Adi. Selamat siang, Pak Barito Adi.
Selamat siang, good afternoon. My name is Barito Adi. I'm from Suryanggul Nusa Cons. I'm an architect working mostly on architectural design and some of our work also including in BIM and green building. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Pak Barito Adi. I just saw that Pak Bima has arrived. Pak Bima, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Barely. So there is a background noise somehow. Could you try again, please?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, Indonesia. I'm in Indonesia. So, listening to us.
Thank you, Pak Bima. Your voice is not very clear, so maybe in the meantime you can check the setting of your sound system. Well, here we are, but not only us. Actually, there are a lot of colleagues helping us preparing this session in the background, literally behind the scenes. So I also want to extend my thanks to Sultan, who is our stage manager for this session. Thank you, Sultan. You have been working very hard to prepare everything, also the slides and our dry run last week, so it went well. But also my colleague from the Hague University of Applied Sciences, Jarko Verskoor, and some colleagues from NAFIC Southeast Asia who are together with Nanya now organizing the winner session in Jakarta. A special thanks for the help from Lotte and from Astrid. So if you can pass on our gratitude to them as well, Nanya. Thank you. So to the next slide, please. This is our agenda for today. Have around 1 hour, so we will make effective use of our time because we have a lot of interesting topics to discuss. I will introduce the background of our session, and then afterwards, immediately, I will give the word to Nanya. We are here, the winner conference. Is it the fifth of the sixth time of winner conference, Nanya? Yeah, six times, right? Yes. So every year, the Netherlands and Indonesia have this special week to strengthen our collaboration, and especially we are focusing on education, capacity building, and living labs in our session. So Nanya, in a few minutes, we would like to hear from you. Then we will jump into the technical content. Brown will introduce the working definition of what are we talking about. We are focusing on energy efficient buildings, but of course it's a large domain. So can we have a common vision on that? And aligned with that, Monica will bring us into the practical vision for application of digitalization in our context. And we will move on to the developments in Indonesia. We are especially curious about uh, the implementation of the knowledge of BIM and green buildings in university curriculum. So Pak Fauzan will share some of the insight from ITB, my former university. So happy to have you on board, Pak Fauzan. And of course, the bridge between academic and the practice. Happy to have Professor Nur Idam, who can really explain with his rich experience in both worlds about the challenges, but also the potentials. And of course, in between, we can have discussions, or we will have several minutes in the end of the session for a plenary discussion and to take up some questions from the audience. So that's the outline for the session. I hope you remain in this session until the end, especially for the practitioners who we need to set up a kind of a learning community of practice. I have one request from Nanya, because Nanya, you are also busy with other sessions and the upcoming closing ceremony. So Nanya informed me that she has to leave after her pitch. But in any way, thank you, Nanya, for making time for our session. Next slide, please, Sultan. Let me just briefly introduce the background of our session here. Next slide. Well, the challenges that we are facing, our two countries, the Netherlands and Indonesia, I don't have to spend much time on that because I think everyone recognizes that we are facing climate change. And when we are talking about the built environment contributes a lot to the source, and also we are to the cause of the climate change because of our emission. And also the built environment suffers from the impact of climate change. So yes, there are a lot of challenges, and together we need to do something about that. This is a global challenge, so we cannot solve it only by individual countries, and that's why we need to have collaboration. And this is also a very complex challenge. This slide I borrowed from Torsten Robeek, who is the first secretary of climate and energy of the Dutch embassy in Jakarta, and he always emphasized the complexity. That's why we need all hands on deck. We need all expertise and involvement both from industry and academia to solve the puzzle. So in short, we create awareness, but we need to move further from that to build networks, to share knowledge, and to find real solutions. So if you are with me, and I think this is really a strong foundation for the further step in our collaboration. Next slide, please. Our session is a follow-up of a physical workshop that we organized a few months ago. So back in July this year, we sat down together. Many of us who are here were also participating there in a 2 days workshop at the Dutch Embassy in Jakarta. We zoomed in into the topic of green buildings and also digitalization. And the results from our workshop were presented during the National Conference of Indonesia Property Management Association on the 5th of July, which was also attended by the Vice Minister of Public Works and Social Housing, Ibu Diana. And Ibu Diana, if I remember correctly, in one of her slides mentioned the need to build up capacity on BIM to support the implementation of the ambition, but also the recent regulations on green buildings. Next slide. And the idea started already a few years ago. I remember Nanya and I were on the stage in 2023, so 2 years ago, when the Netherlands and Indonesia organized the summit on climate and energy, and we presented ideas about living labs as an instrument to make the collaboration more concrete. So Nanya, it was a nice starting point, and I'm happy that in the last 2 years we have made further steps in this direction. Thank you for that. And next slide, please. Back to reality. This is my campus, The Hague University of Applied Sciences, and we always tell our students we want to show them that we practice what we preach. So when we talk about green buildings and digitalization, The Hague University started with our own buildings and our campus in The Hague. Currently, our campus is undergoing midlife renovation, and our executive board has decided that our campus has to become Paris proof, so the compliant to the targets of Paris Climate Agreement in the coming years. And after that, we want to become net zero energy, zero emission, and probably then we can contribute to the surroundings to create positive energy districts in the surroundings district of the campus. The ambition is very high, but we are moving forward quite nicely in that direction. We are actually advancing in our targets, and that's also thanks to the implementation of digitalization. So the whole campus has been modeled in 3D. Most of the parts of the buildings are modeled in BIM, and we are connecting our BIM model with two things. First, for the visualization, we already implemented the BIM model for immersive reality. So the building users can already experience the possible scenarios and impacts of measures for sustainability. But of course, we need some analysis. So we are connecting also our BIM model with the sensor systems, temperature, air quality, occupation, maintenance, facility management, and so on. So all this data have been integrated in a dashboard that helps our facility managers and building operators to make the right decisions in short term, mid term, and long term. So that's just one of the examples which I can share with you. But later on in sessions, we will hear much more from our colleagues about the examples, lessons learned both from the Netherlands and from Indonesia. With that, I hope you have got a better image, a better idea about our session. And now I want to give the floor to Nanya, how we can proceed with our collaboration in education, capacity building, and probably also in new living labs. Floor is yours, Nanya. Thank you.
Thank you, Rizal. And you can keep this slide for a while, Sultan. It's really worth, I must say, to pay a visit to the Hague University of Applied Science, the campus, especially after this introduction from Rizal. So thank you, Rizal. And our office, NUFIC Southeast Asia, is based in Jakarta, as I said in my introduction, where we are the eyes and the ears on the ground for the Dutch knowledge sector to explore collaboration opportunities. And that's why we also have the NL Knowledge House. The NL Knowledge House serves as a gateway for setting up joint initiatives between Dutch and Indonesian knowledge institutions around topics that matter, such as the energy transition. And what I would like to highlight here is that collaboration in general, whether it is in research or education or business or any other field, always starts with mutual interest, because it's in the shared goals and challenges and values that brings people together and lay the foundation for collaboration. And for this topic, it helps, of course, that the Netherlands has signed multiple MOUs on energy. So in 2022, between the Indonesian Ministry of Energy and Minerals, ASDM, and the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Policy, on the sidelines of the G20 Energy Transition Ministers meeting in Bali. But also in February last year, other MOUs were signed, such as the 300 million euro deal involving Invest International for infrastructure and renewable energy. And while it's helpful to have MOUs in place to establish a clear framework for collaboration, I think it's equally, if not maybe even more important, to ensure that collaboration is demand-driven. MOUs provide the structure, but the real and the true impact comes when the work responds directly to the real needs and priorities on the ground. And so when NL Knowledge House joined the Climate Summit 2 years ago, Rizal already referred to it, we put out a call for interest for businesses to come up with real-life business cases, resulting in a living lab on the level of students. But also it resulted in a spin-off. So we organized a workshop for policymakers on making public buildings more energy efficient, which was at that time also very much in line with the budget efficiency measures in Indonesia. There was a clear demand from Indonesia, and at the same time also a huge potential to accelerate green building and sustainable energy practices. And the Netherlands has to offer a lot of practical expertise on this topic. So the NL Knowledge House saw a clear opportunity to connect that knowledge to the ambitions of Indonesia and its potential. And now you can go to the next slide, Sultan, because what we did is we activated both the Netherlands and Indonesia knowledge partners. And that is how learning communities are being built. I think the slide is a little bit mixed up, but what you can see here is that there's a lot of universities involved that create value for students to equip them with the right skills for the green economy. However, the impact goes beyond education. So the NL Knowledge House also realized that this type of collaboration creates tangible value for businesses as well, including small, medium enterprises and government stakeholders. And this was also recognized by RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, and the embassy here in Jakarta, who provided support and also budget from the Climate and Energy Response Facility, which is a G2G facility for Dutch diplomatic missions. So by positioning itself at the heart of the energy ecosystem, the NL Knowledge House seeks to foster not only a learning community, but also a true community of practice, where knowledge exchange, innovation, and cross-sector collaboration can drive sustainable growth and progress. By doing so, together we create a cycle of growth. So if you go to the next slide, Sultan, the cycle of growth that we see is that it starts with creating awareness on the topic of climate change, in this case. And that leads to engagement with all partners involved of the ecosystem, evolving in collaboration and generating impact together, encouraging each other also to share and disseminate the knowledge and experience, and ultimately to spark new or renewed interest and long-lasting partnerships. And the next presentations are, I think, a perfect example of that very first step, and I hope that they spark interest to the audience to join our learning community and community of practice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nanya. You set the scene, so we will carry on from here. Good luck with your other sessions and the closing ceremony of winner later on today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bram, would you take us on a journey on energy efficient buildings, so green buildings? The floor is yours, Bram.
Yes, I will try to do so indeed, Rizal. Thank you. Well, let's have an inside depth dive into the concepts of energy efficient buildings where we are already working on at our university for multiple years. Next slide, please. Because in the Netherlands, we have applied a three-step method already for decades. A three-step method to reduce energy use and to come to a sustainable energy system. And that's quite easy to comprehend. Of course, there also exist many different computational methods and different energy labels whatsoever with all kinds of formulas involved. But let's stick for now shortly at the basis, namely to prevent energy use. Do you really need energy use? A second step is then, can you make use of renewable sources? And the third step, if there is still a need for energy after you already applied your renewable sources, then try to be effectively and efficiently as possible, so that you are, for example, cascading your energy use. This three-step model is already being applied for 3 decades. And when you look at an individual building, their energy use is of course related to the building characteristics, but also to the surroundings of the building, the so-called environmental characteristics. And it's also being influenced by the user or the occupational characteristics, because in basics, all the techniques installed, the service systems, don't use energy at all as long as the user don't ask for it. So the behavior of the user is also very important. So we have in total 5 different groups of characteristics that are important when we're looking at buildings. Next slide, please. The basic physics here involved isn't that hard to understand, because you have a mass balance, the amount of mass that comes in also will leave the building. That's influencing your ventilation system, for example, and the thermal energy you're losing or gaining when applying a ventilation system. And of course, we have an energy balance. The amount of energy that enters a building will also leave a building. So as a matter of fact, you could say every building is energy neutral. Nevertheless, of course, we would like to reduce the usage of fossil fuels and to replace them by renewables, or directly try to reduce then the total energy use. So the amount of energy that enters a building also leaves it, but not in the shape and form we often wanted to have. Next slide, please. When you look at energy, you need to be aware that that's not the only stream entering and leaving a building. It's not the only flux, so to speak. Also, materials are, of course, being used and also have a significant environmental impact. The water usage of buildings is very important. A building is always encompassing a certain amount of space, which often will never be given back to nature again. And as soon as you start building constructions in a certain area, also transport takes place during the construction period, but also during usage, people leaving and go. So besides that three-step model by the name of Trias Energetica, you could also have 4 other basic three-step models reflecting on the material usage, the Trias Hydrica, water usage, the Trias Hydrica, space usage, Trias Toponoma, and transport, Trias Poreutica. All comparable Greek-like names, so to speak. But let's go back to energy, because which kinds of concepts might be considered then? Next slide, please. On this slide, you shortly see 3 examples of concepts that might be interesting to do your research on, to be inspired with. One might think of earthships. These kinds of constructions don't have a connection to any infrastructure at all, which is quite challenging, of course, and it's not always necessary to go that far. But these earthships, the basic idea is that you don't use any fossil fuel at all, and the building is really part of its natural environment. Of course, you can also go for all electric, and office buildings, dwellings are more and more commonly in the Netherlands all electric. No natural gas is being used anymore. And then we also here have the earth, wind and fire concept, where you also make use of natural airflows, being able to ventilate the building, but also to make sure that the basic steady climate comfort is being achieved. Just some examples. And of course, being a University of Applied Science, we would be happy to collaborate in projects to find out, together with our colleagues and students, what kinds of concepts might suit your particular site or foreseen building. But also existing buildings can maybe be adapted to these concepts to be applied. Next slide, please. We already have quite some years now experience with improving the air tightness of buildings. And of course, in the Netherlands, we would like to try to keep the energy in, the thermal energy in. However, we see that our knowledge of air tightness is also much appreciated in many other countries. In countries where environmental temperatures are much higher than the Netherlands, to make sure that the low temperature, dehumidified air stays in. So maybe some knowledge regarding air tightness could be interesting for Indonesia, for example, just as one of the physics elements of physics that can be in place. Next slide, please. Besides that, the individual building might need our attention. We would also welcome to look beyond individual buildings and look at the district where the building is in, how cities are being designed, and which kinds of collective systems might apply regarding heating, cooling, and electricity. Here you, for example, see an ocean thermal energy conversion system as being applied on Curaçao. So do not only look at the individual building, but please also look at the behavior of its users and the surroundings. That's also an important element I wanted to address in this presentation. That was my presentation in this session. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Bram. You always manage to make a very complex and fundamental concepts sounds quite simple and practical. So I'm always happy learning from you. I think we have seen from Bram the fundamental ideas, but also some examples of implementations and practical aspects that we need to consider when we talk about energy efficient buildings. And now the next step will be looking into what are the practical applications of digital data and digitalization, especially for green buildings and climate adaptive buildings? So I'd like to give the floor to you, Monica.
Thanks a lot, Rizal. And just following up what you heard from my colleagues before, Rizal, I think, was referring to supporting decision makers, and also Bram was referring to the different scales, let's say the building and its surrounding. So that's basically where the digital technology plays an important role to provide decision makers with more information. In the moment, I'm actually in Warsaw in Poland, and yesterday we had like a first workshop on sustainable cities. So it's a bit of a different scale, but we will do also the same workshop in Medan in Indonesia in December. And it looks into data and digital data for informed decision making for urban planners. And you hear, let's say, in every place, also here in Warsaw, the same story from urban planners that they are lacking access to data, that they're struggling with sometimes an overflow of data. The data are not processed in a way that they can use them. And I think it's a common pattern if you talk with planners in Medan, if you talk with planners in Jakarta, if you talk with planners here in Warsaw in the Netherlands. I think we need to make digital information more accessible and easy to use and informative to take the right decisions. And that's a bit what I will talk about at different scales, from the building scale to the neighborhood scale, and sometimes also to a broader city scale, on how to make digital data accessible for decision maker, be it at a building management construction level or at the neighborhood level. Can you go to the next slide, please? So what is the role of digital data or digitalization to look to efficient building energy efficiency? And it has to do often with the sort of the different also life cycles of buildings, from the design of the buildings to the operation, but also to what is called retrofitting, so to renovating buildings, to improve buildings in terms of comfort, energy efficiency, which is a big problem in many places where you face old building stock which are not fit to the changing climate conditions and also to the sustainability questions. And there are so many sort of layers of information that need to be taken care. And I was trying to sort of visualize this into the complexity of digital information that interact with each other. And if you're talking about decision-making process, what I was referring to before to is often an overwhelming of information, but also not understanding how different aspects connect to each other, and therefore digital information and seeing the layered information and how they relate to each other is very important. And sort of the move to more smart solution has so many dimensions, looking to not only the building and like the cooling systems, but also related aspects on how to manage waste, how to promote more low carbon mobility, how to optimize energy use, obviously in buildings. And we had a very interesting discussion in Jakarta with building managers about the massive energy consumption of some buildings, and sort of the need of really optimize energy uses, but also how like the whole neighborhoods and the urban form of neighborhoods can be beneficially, like in terms of design, better designed to support cooling of entire neighborhoods, sort of the use of different energy, and then sort of the move to more smart city, smart solutions. So this all is sort of supported by this layered information in a digital environment and understanding how they interact with each other. Can you move, please, to the next slide? So if you talk about smart cities, it's what I call zoom in, zoom out. So you can talk about smart buildings, but you can also talk about smart neighborhoods and entire smart city solutions. And you have sort of the different actors, which are sort of the government actors that are enablers of often the smart solutions, but very much taking the citizens on board because they benefit from smart solutions, but also need to be taken on board to design optimal smart solutions for also stimulating behavioral changes, which we shouldn't forget. Like in the end, we sort of want to sort of promote more sort of sustainable behavior patterns in terms of mobility choices, in terms of energy usages, and therefore we need to provide information not only to the decision makers but also to the citizens or the inhabitants of buildings and inhabitants of neighborhoods, as well as to industries and the private sector in terms of their contribution, in terms of user of information, but also provider of information in a digital environment. Can you move to the next slide, please? So there are different technologies, and one technology which typically more operates on a sort of neighborhood scale slash city scale is geographic information systems that provide either in 2D or in 3D spatial information, and it's able to collect information from different systems, like from building registration, from cadastre systems, but also from all kinds of geospatial information systems that allow to see the individual building, for example, like in a 3D environment, and to do all kinds of models, like understanding, for example, air pollution. Like that's what we will do, for example, here in Warsaw, but also in Medan, that we are modeling air pollution and urban heat and looking to different scenarios and different adaptations and how they will impact urban heat outcomes, but also meaning not only the surface temperature, but air temperature, humidity, but also air pollutants outcomes in terms of different mobility choices and how this will impact pollutants outcomes and eventually also the well-being of citizens in a specific area. So this a lot depends also on transport choices. Like for example, yesterday we were talking about low emission zones, new regulations to restrict to a certain degree transport or to promote more sustainable mobility choices, and how this can be stimulated by more informed decisions in using digital data and using modeled outputs. And one important aspect of making data more accessible, because of course all this is pretty complex and data can be pretty complex, is to use simple dashboards for decision makers to show how certain decisions impact environmental indicators in terms of a reduction, for example, of NO2 emission or PM emission pollutants, so reducing air pollution. And that's sort of a very then simple and intuitive way of understanding how certain planning decisions contribute to specific outcomes. Next, please. So on a very much building scale, you have building information modeling, which allows from the design of a building to optimize information not only on the building design, but also about energy systems in buildings, and promote this during the construction as well as the operation. So it's a very efficient system of individual management of buildings and the energy flow and energy data, and have continuous information about energy consumption of buildings, which promote more sustainable energy usage of buildings. Next, please. So in terms of building management, it's important, like what we have, like the heat, ventilation and air conditioning system management of building, but also the lighting of buildings is often like forgotten that a lot of the energy what we consume is invested into lighting, not only the sort of the air conditioning, or in the north more the heating system of building, but also lighting, including indoor and outdoor lighting of buildings. And an optimization of management via sensor system is very much helping in reducing the energy costs and the energy consumption of buildings. And that's something which can be done also in the form of digital twins. Digital twins are like a replication of buildings, or the replication also for an entire neighborhood. And it works with real-time sensor data to optimize aspects of the building, of the energy, of lighting. Also, it relates to heat, like here in this example, urban heat. Yeah, please move to the next one. So urban heat and digital twins, it's, as I say, it's a real world, like a replication of real world environment, and it uses sensor system to provide real-time information to building users, to building managers, to optimize consumption patterns, but also to improve the comfort of users. If you move next. And therefore, like, there are a lot of sort of different simulations at different scales. Like we can have simulations at individual buildings about optimizing the comfort of buildings, but also simulation on a neighborhood scale about urban heat. As said, in the moment we are working on simulations more on a neighborhood scale and looking into scenarios, also considering the future growth of cities and simulating aspects of urban heat and air pollution outcomes of different planning decisions and interventions. And this allows decision makers to improve and optimize decision making. Please, next. So as my final slide, it's like a call for collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands. I think we can learn a lot from each other. Like in the Netherlands, we are working a lot with BIM and digital twins, increasing also in Indonesia. But in Indonesia, what I found very fascinating is the amount of green facades, which are in starting and thinking about how to cool building and to make buildings more sustainable and livable for its inhabitants. So I think we can benefit a lot from the exchange in terms of technology, exchange between students, and joint pilots, which we started in our workshop in Jakarta, and hope we have some further opportunities for increasing our partnerships. That's from me, and thanks for listening to me. Over to you, Rizal.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for connecting the theory with practice, and also with clear examples of possible solutions and the added values of digitalization. And really happy to hear that not only you have been working in Jakarta in the area, but also the upcoming workshop in Medan. So yeah, good luck with that. My best wishes as well for the broader applications of digitalization, your knowledge, also in the relation between Indonesia and the Netherlands. Well, before we continue with Pak Fausan and Prof. Nur Idam, I'd like to give the chance for Pak Bima and Pak Barito Adi, having heard of some of the ideas. Do you what are your first thoughts? Do you have any comment on what we have been discussing in the last half an hour or so?
Yeah. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. And this is the brilliant idea that presented to all of us. And the first thing that comes in on mind was how the government will be in charge in this concept to be applicated in maybe all of the life aspects from the building.
Yes, the government
Yes, the government side,
in
the
in
government
which
side.
countries? You're asking about the experience in the Netherlands, or
Yes, yes.
okay, uh, maybe Bram or Monica. Any comment from you if you want to respond to this question?
I can can give it a try. I don't know exactly if I understood your question perfectly, but of course we have building regulations where for a new construction it all starts with. So before getting your building permit, you need to show which kinds of sustainable techniques you have applied. That's already in place since 1995 regarding the energy performance of dwellings. Later on, also office buildings came in place. And more recently, you can also see that we have some regulation regarding the material usage. So also reducing the environmental impact of the building by means of its material usage. That's all set regarding the building permit.
Thank
However, when you consider existing buildings, then it's often slightly harder to make sure that the environmental impact is not increasing or maybe even reduced. So the government needs to take its role during the in front of the construction process, but maybe we can also later on by changing ownership, and that's for now only the energy label is then in place. So when the ownership changes, your energy label will again be addressed and could be an incentive to improve the building further. But there are some, there are maybe some more interesting ways for the government to affect results. And there are also often subsidies provided to make sure insulation is being installed later on in existing buildings, for example. So that are some examples of how the government helps. And of course, they are funding research. That's also interesting to mention.
Thank you, Bram. Just a short addition. A nice question, Pak Bima. Indeed, the role of government. As a professor, I also work for the government executive agency implementing the policy for sustainable built environments. So what I can say is there are three levels. First, in the Netherlands, we are a member state of the European Union. So the national regulations are aligned with the directives from the EU, especially related to the energy performance building directives, which were translated into energy performance certificates, as Bram explained. And then on a national level, our Ministry for Climate, our Ministry for Social Housing and Special Development uh, have developed policies for accelerating the transition towards sustainability in the built environment. And the executive agency, RVO, where I also work for, is charged with the task of implementing this and also monitoring the progress. So every year we provide the government and the public, the citizens, with the real statistics of how we are uh, moving forward with the decarbonization of our building stocks. Last but not least, as Bram mentioned, there are also subsidy instruments which are implemented on a local and regional level with the municipalities, for example, PEMDA. So every city works with housing associations, with construction companies, and they are making progress in the field. And of course, there are a lot of barriers, and we are not fast enough. But in my opinion, the government of the Netherlands is really serious in this, and there is a continuity in the policy. And hopefully it will also continues after the election, which is coming up in the next 2 weeks. So that will be quite exciting to follow. Pak Barito Adi, do you have any
Yeah,
question for now, or otherwise we can move forward?
yeah. Just maybe just adding a little things as uh, Pak Bima mentioned about regulation, because in Indonesia, regulation driven is important, and it's still I think it still needs more on the development and implementation. And I think it's also interesting to see some presentation related to the availability of data, for example, because accessibility and practicality also becoming, I think it's a maybe restriction, yeah, in Indonesia to working on such thing, yeah, BIM and green building.
Mhm.
Maybe that's for now. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. Hopefully, we will have more time for a discussion after two presentations from Pak Fauzan and Prof. Nur Idam. Pak Fauzan, can I give you the word? Sultan, would you please put the slides back on the screen? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Okay, so I just want to recall what Monica said about how the accessible digital data and also building information can be used for improving decision making. So now, how uh, can we introduce this kind of issue and also awareness to Indonesian AEC higher education? So AEC stands for the architecture, engineering, and construction. So how we bring this issue up to the higher education. So next slide, please. So to begin, I want to highlight a challenge we currently face in Indonesia, which I refer to as the policy, industry, and pedagogy gap. And fortunately, some of them are mentioned previously by Pak Bima and Pak Barito. The first one is about the policy push. The Indonesian government has a clear direction with a national commitment to achieve the net zero emission by 2060 at the latest, and has made the green building certification at least mandatory in several levels, from national, provincial, and also in city municipality levels. And also, there also a national mandate for the use of building information modeling, or BIM, especially for the public buildings, as mentioned in the government regulation. And however, when we look at the industry practice, the reality is more complex. Maybe later, Pak Bima and Pak Barito can add more into this section in the industry practice, where the BIM adoption in the industry can be say we can say it's lagging behind the other developing nations, and also there are a critical lack of skilled workforce and graduates who possess the necessary BIM capabilities. In the green building side, while it is encouraging that over 200 projects have been certified under the EDGE program, and also some also in the greenship program under GBCI, these projects are still heavily concentrated in Jakarta and also on the Java Island. And the last one is on the pedagogy lag in our higher education. There are only a limited number of courses focused on green building, and these are often offered as elective courses. And even a fewer courses successfully integrate BIM as a core competency for the student. So this gap between policy, practice, and pedagogy is the issue that we must address. Next slide, please. So how do we at ITB, Institute Teknologi Bandung, begin to address this from an educational standpoint? So it starts from our foundational curriculum perspective on sustainability and digitalization. As you can see in this table, alongside with other mandatory courses in mathematics, basic science, we have established two key mandatory competencies for all students. So these are sustainability development and data literacy, digital literacy, and artificial intelligence. So by making this core and mandatory, we ensure that every student receive a fundamental understanding of both at least green and digital principle from the very start of their higher education life. Next slide, please. Okay, so building on this foundation, I want to share what we do in our program, in the architecture program at ITB. So in the first year, students are introduced with the principle of sustainability alongside with the foundational digital courses like computational thinking and data literacy and AI. And as they advance to the second and third years, the topics become more specialized. We introduce courses like Introduction to Green Architecture, Introduction to Green Design Performance Simulation and Modeling, and Introduction to Parametric Beam Modeling. And also, digital skills are also reinforced through Design Studio, starting from the second year, workshop, and many more courses. And in the fourth year, students engage with more advanced subjects, including in the postgraduate level, such as energy conservation and efficiency, sustainable building material, advanced building parametric beam modeling, and the last one is beam and information management. So this layered approach ensure that green and digital skills are not just taught, but are deeply embedded and developed over time from one stage to another stage, from one year to another year. Next slide, please. So based on our experience, we believe there are several key strategies that we must adopt to effectively address the challenge that I mentioned uh, previously. So first, we try to integrate our course plan with the national competency standard, such as SKKNE, and also for the work competency certificate or SKK, to ensure that our graduates meet industry recognized standard. And second, it is crucial to infuse green and digital skills directly to the core learning experience like design studios and also workshops. So rather than isolating them in separate elective courses. And third, we must shift our approach to digital education. So we need to move away from not just a software specific training and towards the collaborative, more project-based learning. So this approach should emphasize the entire digital workflow and the importance of data-driven decision making to solve the real-world problems. Next slide, please. So finally, bridging this gap is not a task for a single institution. So it requires a broad collaboration across the sector in Indonesia. So we see a significant potential in several areas, such as that we can pursue curriculum and skill development collaboration between universities and vocational institutions. We can also establish a joint research initiative on BIM, digitalization, and green buildings that involve both academics and industry professionals. And also, there's also opportunity for multiple parties to come together to initiate BIM or green building centers or hub. And we must work together on joint capacity building programs for both educator and practitioners to improve green and digital literacy across the entire sector. So finally, by working together, we can effectively close the gap and prepare a new generation of professionals for a more sustainable and digitalized Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Fauzan. Really happy to see how the curriculum has developed since a long time ago when I studied in the same building, which was on the picture just now. And I really appreciate your call for collaborations. I really second that. Uh, both collaboration between academics and industries, but hopefully also the collaboration internationally between Indonesia and the Netherlands. which we will follow up, of course, after the session. But for now, I'd like to give the word to Prof. Nur Idam, who is also bridging the bridge because you work both in science as well as in practice. So, Prof. Nur Idam, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Rizal. Good afternoon for everybody here. So my name is Nur Kholis Idam from UII. So I would like to talk about knowledge and skill need in professional practice applying green building in Indonesia, especially from my perspective as architecture lecturer and also little bit as a professional in designs. Okay, next please. So as we know that there are three system for green building in Indonesia, starting from 2009 by Green Ship of GBCI or GBCI, we call it. And also from EFC World Bank about 8K, and lastly from Kemenpu PR, from our ministry about the green buildings or bangunan gedung hijau. Up to now, unfortunately, just only about around 110 that the building already get certificate from GBCI, and also around 153 building from ETKE, and the rest maybe came from Leeds because the owners came from multinational corporations, and also some building also belong to Singaporeans company also get certificate from Green Marks. Okay, next please. Yes, of course. Why this figure is very low compared to Singapore, for example, they already have around nearly 5,000 already certificated by their system. But of course, here we have some barriers and hindrances, especially related to the finance problem. We know that yes, high capital cost for the green building, uh, and of course, as mentioned before, this is about the regulations. Yeah, our regulation is not only need to be more powerful, but also it's only for large building as obligatory, as mandatory to get a certificate from green buildings. And also technical matters because yes, we have green buildings in 2009, but the number of technicians or let's say scholar for this purpose is still very limited in Indonesia. Maybe because of skill gap as well between parties, including architect like us and also actors. So the last one is about the social and cultural aspect because however we already have green buildings certificate, ETK, etc., but still awareness from the people and of course the client is still low. And of course, there are pros and cons about green building, applying green building in Indonesia. For the owner and developers, there are some including higher asset value versus higher technical complexity, and also higher brand reputation versus higher certification burdens, higher regulatory compliance versus higher financial barrier. And for architect like us, uh, of course, it will be higher innovation, but versus higher skill capacity demands, and also higher sustainability contribution versus higher project complexity, and wider career development versus regulatory uncertainty. Next, please. So, as consequences, there are some aspects that we have to aware about this. One of them is incomplete and uneven market development. So, the penetration of green buildings certification is still low, and disappropriate a burden of large project and costs. Of course, this is also very important problem. The more, the bigger the project, the higher the cost will be. And the other aspect, it's also very important here about suboptimal performance of project considered as green, or we call it as greenwashing, because we found that some of project that considered as green buildings even less green than the others. So we still find some of this case. And of course, there are some barriers to scaling up and to sustaining impact for professional and institutions, because for architect like us, this is not easy actually uh, to apply, to understand, and to have skill related to how to 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 design the green building up to their certification, of course. So all these things will result in environmental, social, and economic risks. Next, please. So, what are knowledge needed actually? Yes, as I mentioned before, like Pak Fauzan as well, and also from other speakers here, that we need the certification system, ya, green SIP, 8K, and also bangunan gedung hijau, visa from LEED, and also same case also green. So architects and also buildings actor should understand and have ability to operate this kind of certifications. And the other one is sustainable design principle. Of course, this sustainable principle also teach in university, but not all of universities seems have their priority to teach environmental green environmental green building and so on and so forth. The other one is about the need of regulations, yeah, because this is also very important, and also environmental performance metrics, how to measure, how to access, etc. It's very important here. And the other one is, of course, this is about the local climate and cultural context. This is maybe a very common in university, but in the professionals field mostly, then become less and less considered, since maybe they will think about more about money and money and money, and not for the long term, unfortunately, but for the short terms. Next, please. Okay, so what skills needed? Yes, 8K applications. We need that. Energy Plus, Design Builder, ISV, like mentioned before. This is very important, but unfortunately, those kind of applications recently still very rarely used by architect. Yeah, for example, Energy Plus. This is too technical for us, and also, of course, Design Builder is more on visual communication, better than Energy Plus. But of course, this is we have to pay to use that with ISP as well. So this is also very important for architect to understand about, or to have ability to use to operate this kind of tools. Yes, just like Pak Fauzan mentioned as well about BIMs. We learned these BIMs from second semester in university, in my university as well. But however, unfortunately, we still can find easily in the professional project that they are not using BIM yet. Some of them even still using the older application like AutoCAD. And the next is material selection and specifications. Yes, in order to have green material, there are some certified materials that this is not easy to get it. Yes, of course, we have SNE standard, a national standard, Indonesian national standard. Some of them correlated with this certification for the material. And the other thing, this is very important as well, is about the native local material such as bamboo and also wood, local wood, are very important because they have good quality as well as they treat it as they need it. Because yes, of course, some material is not good quality, but some material like thick wood, for example, it's good quality and can be used as a part of the green material. The other thing is about the collaborations. As an architect, we cannot work alone. We need other discipline like technicians, mechanical, electrical, etc., and also landscaper. We need work together as a team. Then project management.
Excuse me, Prof. Nur Idam. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, we will need to finish the session in 2 minutes. So would it be possible for you to wrap up?
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. So okay, this is a skill needed. The last two uh, slide is just like a conclusion. So that's we need about professional and institutional responses. It is similar actually with the other last thing since there is a limited time. So please go to for the last. Uh, yeah, this is our recommendations. Broadening regulatory mandate and scaling up financing and incentive, upgrading professional education and training, strengthening material supply chains, enhancing data monitoring and public communication, and also fostering cultural change. So this is very important as well because however the end of the day we will find our people as a owner or as user of the building. Hopefully, this can be support the discussions. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next slide, Sultan, please. So we have gained a lot of insights, and unfortunately, the time is up. And I know winner is very strict because there are other sessions as well. Thank you so much for to you, all of you, for the participations, but also sharing really honest ideas, knowledge, challenges as well. Sultan, could you please put up the last slide still? Because we can still and we need to follow up our discussion. Nanya already invited us for further collaboration, which can be facilitated by the Indonesia NL Knowledge House. My colleague Jerke Verskoor is kindly willing to accommodate your aspirations, your questions, your wishes, so you can get in touch with them in the coming period. And in the meantime, I would like again to thank all of you and thank Sultan as our stage manager, and I wish you a nice day and remainder of the winner conference. Thank you very much. Bye for now.